A good Yantef, a Chag Sameach to everyone. It's wonderful to have a minion here who on the first night of Sukkot, I mean, somebody would tell me that in Mobile, Alabama, that we would have a minion in a Reformed temple on the first night of Sukkot, on the actual night, I would say that is highly unlikely. So I am thoroughly impressed with this community. Las Vegas had over a number of days. Did they have, okay, over 108. Okay, on that wonderful note, I'll engage in a little Jewish learning before we begin. There's a whole question about who qualifies as a kosher witness to testify before a bet din. And if I'm not mistaken, it's either dice players or card players, this is in the Talmud, are not permitted to testify because they're of a kind of shady character. It's true. All right, we're going to begin on page 384 with the lighting of the candles. I'm going to ask Maggie and Danette to come forward and light the candles, including the Shechianu as well. Again, page 384. Yep. Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to rekindle the light of this festival. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'ehyanu v'higimanu v'higyanu v'astan v'zeh.
Amen. Thank you, Danette, and thank you, Maggie. Our service continues now with the chanting of the blessing over the candles on the same page.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehad ligneh shel yom tov.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'ehyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who has given us life, who has sustained us, and has enabled us to reach this sacred time. Our service continues now on page 389 with the reading for Sukkot. And let us join in prayer. Tonight, let our shelters be strung with the finest fruits of creation, love, fertility, prosperity, wisdom. Let us promise to feed the hungry. Let our harvest bring peace. And we continue now with the Chatzi Kaddish, page 392.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah v'yamad yivrach yirotei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yom vit ba'ar, vit ramam, vit naseh, vit hadar, vit alei, vit halal, shmei de kodesha, brihu, leila min grobi chata, veshirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran biyama, v'meru, amen.
Continue page 393 in the middle of the page. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day today be as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Please rise for the Baruch Hu, page 394.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. And let us join in a reading on page 397, a reading for the festival of Sukkot at the bottom of the page. The colors of early evening sky blend and deepen, allowing new lights to be seen twinkling through the branches, the promise that in darkness new light will be revealed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. We continue now with the Ahavat Olam, page 398. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbeinu ufkumenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu b'yorech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla yomam v'layla v'havacha chal tasir mimenu li'olamim baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael ohev amo Yisrael. Please rise for the Shema.
Adonai
continue with the V'ahavta on page 402.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשקתם להיות הידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למענן תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
You may be seated. L'kol zaman ve'et l'chol chefetz tachat hashamayim. A season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven. A reading for the festival of Sukkot. We continue now with the Mi Chamocha, page 406.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלי, נורא תהילות אוסף אלי, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע הים לפני משה,
ונאמר כי יפדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גואל ישראל. And we continue now on page 409, in the middle of the page. May we lie down this night in peace and rise up to life renewed. May this night spread over us a canopy of calm lifted by the blessing of rest, There will come a time when the morning will bring no word of war, famine, or anguish. There will come a dawn to rejoice in the peace of mind, heart, and being. Praised are you, the source of renewal within us, for the night's rest and for the promise of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Hashkivenu, page 408.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu Malkeinu leChaim Ufros aleinu Sukkot Shomecha v'toknenu v'tzatova milfanecha v'hoshinu leman shemecha.
Page 410 in the middle of the page. Vayedaber Moshe et Moadei Adonai el Bnei Yisrael. And Moses declared the appointed festivals of Adonai to the people of Israel. Please turn now to page 468 for the Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, the prelude to the Amidah. Please rise.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Udvi Agita Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai
Page 470.
Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el, Hagedol, Hagibor v'Nahorah, Elyon, Domnei Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Hastelvot v'Imahot, U'Mavi Geula לבני ביניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, ויצרת שרה. אתה גיבור בעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומאיים אמונתו
kadosh.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
And we continue 478 through the end of the Amidah, page 492, and of course you may be seated. We continue with Shalom Rav, page 488. And we continue now with the Oseh Shalom on page 492. And let us join in a reading for the Hallel. Hallel is recited every festival, which means Passover or Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. We always recite a prayer of thanksgiving because these are times that we rejoice. For Passover, we rejoice in the celebration of freedom and the Exodus. For Shavuot, we rejoice in the giving of the Torah. And for Sukkot, we celebrate the fall harvest. We continue now with a reading on page 559. As I looked, the poplar rose in the shining air like a slender throat, and there was an exaltation of flowers, the surf of apple tree delicately foaming. All winter the trees had been silent soldiers, a vigil of woods, their hidden feelings scrawled and became scores of black vines, barbed wire sharp against the ice-white sky. Who could believe then in the green, glittering vividness of full-leaf summer? Who will be able to believe when winter again begins, after the autumn burns down again and the day is ashen, and all returns to winter and winter's ashes, wet, white, ice, wooden, dulled, and dead, brittle, and frozen? Who will believe or feel in mind and heart the reality of the spring and of birth, in the green, warm opulence of summer and the inexhaustible vitality and immortality of the earth? We continue with the blessing for the Hallel on page 558. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et Hallel. And we continue now with the singing of Pitruli, page 567. And first let us read on page 568, Open the Gates of Righteousness for Me, page 568. Open the gates of righteousness for me, that I may enter them and praise Adonai. This is the gateway to Adonai, the righteous shall enter it. I praise you, for you have answered me and have become my deliverance. The stone that the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. This is Adonai's doing, it is marvelous in our sight. This is the day that Adonai has made. Let us exult and rejoice on it. O Adonai, deliver us. O Adonai, let us prosper. May the one who enters be blessed in the name of Adonai. We bless you from the house of Adonai. Adonai is God. God has given us light. Bind the festal offering to the horns of the altar with cords. You are my God, and I will praise you. You are my God, and I will extol you. Praise Adonai, for God is good. The God's steadfast love is eternal. Pitruli Sha'arei Tzedek. Pitruli Sha'arei Tzedek, Avovam Odeya. Zeh Hashar L'Adonai, Tzadikim Yavovo. Zeh Hashar L'Adonai, Tzadikim Yavovo. Odecha ki anitani vatehili lishua. Even masu habonim hayeta lerosh bina. Even masu habonim hayeta lerosh bina. Me'et Adonai hayet hazot hi niflat b'einenu. Me'et Adonai hayet הבית הזאת היא נפלאת בינינו. זה היום עשה אדוני, נגילה ונשמחה בו. זה היום עשה אדוני, נגילה ונשמחה בו. אהנה אדוני הושיענה, אהנה אדוני הצליחנה. And we're going to continue now with the blessing over the lulav and etrog. Everybody will get an opportunity. We have 3, so we can do this. We can just do this and pass them on to each other. I'll show you how to do it first. Each time we pass out 3, you can repeat the blessing after me. Okay. So what you do is you hold the lulav in the right hand, and you hold the etrog in the left, and you bring them together. What's called the pitam, which is this, is down. This end is down, and then you recite the blessing. It goes like this: Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat lulav. I'll repeat that Hebrew for you much slower, so you'll all be able to just repeat it after me. Then you turn this part up, and then you make the Shachiyanu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shachiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Then you shake the lulav. I think the directions are down here. There's different customs as to how to shake the lulav, but the way I learned it was this: you shake it forward. You shake it in all directions is basically the idea. Then you shake it to the. This is going to sound like a song. I apologize. A dance. You shake the lulav to the right, and then behind you, and then to your left, and then to the side, and then up, and then down. In other words, the idea is it's sort of like a almost a native sort of prayer that dew will come, that rain will come, because in Israel this begins their rainy season, and they want. What's that? Well, when I read the Hallel prayer about the winter, I was wondering how much all of us can really connect to a prayer about winter and so forth. But that was what was in the prayer book, so we're kind of us in Wisconsin us who come from Wisconsin, or New Hampshire, we can relate to that. But earlier on, we read a prayer at the Hallel about winter and frost and ice, and I'm not sure that that's something that registered with all of you here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass these out. Once again, the long stem is what is down, this one, and this one, the pitam isn't quite right, but that's okay. I'm just going to pass them first. One more. There you go. Okay, and now, and then we'll just pass it. It'll take just a moment. It won't take that long. And just repeat the words after me. Baruch, Atah, Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech Haolam, Asher Kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat lulav. Now you take the etrog and flip it the other way, okay? And you do the Shachiyanu. And you can see the transliteration, so you don't really need me to help you with that. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. And so you shake it in all possible directions. Like that. There you go. Good. Okay, then we pass it to good. Very good. Give some to Danette and Dave. Okay. There you go. And instead of me just saying the words and repeating them, you have the transliteration there, and I'll go slow. Okay. So if you Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Kidshanu B'mitzvotav Vitzivanu Al Nitilat Lulav. Now you turn the etrog. Very good. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Shechiyanu V'kiyamanu V'higiyanu Lazman Hazeh. And give it a good shake in all directions. And we can pray for some nice weather. We've had really enough rain. I don't think we need any more rain. But we could use some nice weather, some cooler weather. So we can certainly pray for that.
We need a special buffer to stop the rain for a while.
Well, you know, maybe God and God's omniscience knew that we were going to gather here for Sukkot. So in anticipation that we were all going to have a minyan here, God sent the rains ahead of time.
There you go.
In exchange for knowing that we would.
We'll wish it to,
Right. There you go. Right. We wish it to Israel. Okay. Does everybody have it? Does everybody know what to do? Yes, it smells really good. The etrog goes in the left hand and the lulav goes in the right. I think it's the other way. Yeah, there you go. They're all set. Great. And the pitom, the part goes down. Okay. And you hold them both together like that. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al nitilat lulav. Okay, no, wait, no, you have to turn it the other way, the etrog in the other direction. There you go. Right, turn it right side up. And now we're going to do Shachianu, and then you get to shake, rattle, and roll. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Good, very, very good. Amy, I don't think you had a turn. Did you have a turn, Amy? Good, okay. I don't think Andy had a turn either.
This is in your left hand, and that's in your right hand.
Okay, very good. All right, together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al nitilat lulav. And now turn it the other way. There you go. And bring it together. Hold them both together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Now shake it in all directions. There you go. Okay. No, we're not supposed to hit each other with the lulav. Okay, I think that's enough.
some people make jelly with it, but it's like kumquat, it's very awful.
Is it a sweet kumquat or a sour kumquat?
It's sour, it's
Sour.
really not meant for anything but this purpose.
But this purpose.
Like that.
I do like
We'll
sour.
try, but
Squeeze it in my water. Maybe.
I feel like boil it like boiling lemon.
Because it says so in the Bible. That's the only reason. There is a reference to the pre-Eitz Hadar. The Hadar is is interpreted to mean the etrog, a special fruit. Yeah, that's the only reason. There's no, I mean, hadar means beautiful, and so they term this to be something beautiful fruit. But it's only in it's the only reason for all of this is because it says so in the Torah. There's no, I'm going to say it, but in the temple they used to use these and march. The Kohanim, as described in the Talmud, would take these and they would circle, and for each day of the Sukkot represented a number of nations where we prayed for the welfare of all the 70 nations. And that was done with the number 7 because there were 7 days of Sukkot. So each day represented what, one seventh of what was considered to be the 70 nations of the world. And in the temple, they would pray for the welfare of each of these nations during Sukkot. So there was always a kind of universal aspect to it. But Shmini Atzeret, which is the 8th day of assembly, that was which we observe, and they observe that also in Israel. That was supposed to be unique to Israel, where according to tradition in the Talmud and in Midrash, God asked Israel to stay one more day. And so Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day of assembly, is unique was considered to be unique to our people. But the whole holiday as a whole was considered to be a universal one, where Israel, on behalf of all the nations of the world, prayed for their welfare. So that was what was sort of behind Sukkot. And of course, it was a very celebratory time because many Israelites had made pilgrimage to the temple. And so if you think about Yom Kippur is only 5 days before, or 4 days before, no, it's 5 days before Sukkot. So that would encourage people to stay and make pilgrimage to Jerusalem, kind of like a vacation in a way. And so they would not only bring offerings, but there was all kinds of celebrations. There were reports of people who were fire specialists. I mean, you've seen them in circuses, and where they have torches and all kinds of crazy things that they do with fire. There was all kinds of celebrations that are described that what went on in the temple during this time period, which was very celebratory, very, very happy. Right? What's that? No sermon. What's that? Yeah. That's in the Torah. That's in the Torah. Yeah, yeah. The myrtle, the willow, and the palm. Yeah, yep. That's right out of Leviticus, somewhere. I think verse 22, but I forget the chapter number, which is very helpful. If you go to Emor, if you go to the Torah portion Emor, you'll find it there. Okay, let's move on to the Misha Berach prayer, page 371. Bruce Mosier, Charmaine Mosier, Bobby Davis, Matthew McCormick, Paul Bradley, Robin Mayer, Mark Siegel, Rhoda Bennett, and Elaine Berman. So now in the congregation, anyone who you'd like to remember in need of spiritual, physical, or emotional healing? Thank you. Thank you.
Aiden Roland, Julianne.
People online? Is it just James?
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Before we move on to the Alenu, I just wanted to say two things. First of all, you may have heard the name Bruce Mosher. That's the husband of Charmaine, and we all know that Charmaine is going through a process. Bruce just had some rather serious surgery, though he's doing okay. He'll be in the hospital. I know that they would appreciate that if you know them to just give them a call and just to wish them well. They're very, they feel very much a part of our congregation. And, if you want to call, sometimes there's a hesitancy about calling, and rightfully so. But I know them fairly well, and I just know they feel very connected to everyone here. And they're going through a process now, and I know a phone call or just an email would mean a lot, just well wishes and that sort of thing. It was rather it was serious, but they came through it well. Okay, please rise for the Alenu on page 586. Excuse me. Please rise. It's really good. You may be seated. This week, we observed the yahrzeits of Samuel Friedman, Jacob Koffler, and David Friedlander. This coming week, we'll also observe the yahrzeits of Julius Marx, Ruth Brown, Robert Nathan Hanmaker, Adolf Rubel, and Nathan Friedlander. Is there anyone observing a yard site or saying Kaddish for someone who they wish to remember at this time? The Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Please rise. Yitkadal v'yitkadash meraba bi'alma divrachi rute v'yamlich malchute v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitala l'shemei d'kudsha p'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May God, who establisheth peace unto the heavens, grant peace and comfort in the hearts of all who mourn, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated. Just a few short announcements. First, a Torah study will resume this Wednesday, and services on Friday evening will again be at 6:15. But there's going to be some discussion about changing the time for Friday night services to 6 o'clock, because the reason for the change to 6:15 is no longer applicable. Am I right on that, Nate and Howard? No. We've talked about a little bit. We haven't had great discussions, but we'll get some feedback as to if you think 6 o'clock is too early or 6:15 is the perfect time. The reason for as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the 6:15 time when Rabbi Howard Kosofsky was here, he couldn't get here before 6:15 was the time that he was very comfortable getting here, making sure that things were set up and so forth. Had to do with his flights and all of that. So that's why it was 6:15. Before that, as I understand it, the services were at 6 o'clock. And so we may go back to that since I'm here. 6 o'clock is fine by me. Yeah, and yeah, right. So people from. Oh, so yeah, I'm happy to keep it the same. I was just wondering about that. Okay, just watch if there's be a change. Will there be some discussion? But maybe there won't be. We'll see. Also, right, there's a board meeting tomorrow night at 5:30. And finally, I just wanted to express my thanks once again to Nate and to Howard, to David, for all their, you weren't there. Were you there yesterday? Yeah, you were. No, you were. I'm sorry. I want to thank everyone who was involved in making Sukkot. What's that? Right, that's right. Duncan was there, and others were there that made Sukkot. So really very special for seven of our students, as well as their parents. It was a very special gathering and a wonderful beginning to our to the new year of our religious school. And thank Patricia, who was also there helping and so forth. And also tonight's service to me is personally is as important as the Kol Nidre, because we're actually observing Sukkot on the day of Sukkot. We're not waiting until Friday and so forth. We'll have some observance of the festival, but this speaks to me as highly, even though we don't have the same number of people. This speaks highly of the institutional commitment to the future of our congregation, and I'm so moved by the commitment of all of you who are here tonight, and the support of and really the support of the leadership in terms of observing Sukkot, and your all participation here this evening means as much to me as Kol Nidre. We have two people online. We have Jonathan Freitkin, who we welcome, and James Perrin. Oh, three. Oh, who's the third? Who? Oh, and Richard and Diane Frank. So we're very delighted. So, we have more than a minion. And again, that really, to me, is as important in terms of our future and our commitment as the High Holy Days, because it's very easy to have a letdown. Very easy after Kol Nidre and all of the pageantry of the High Holy Days to forget that there's other festivals as well, and we're just going to ignore that until Shabbat when it's convenient. But instead, we're observing it, we're lighting candles at the time, we're benching lulav and etrog. These things matter to me as much as the others, so I want to thank everyone here for supporting that and for doing what I think to be a very, very important mitzvah. And I want to thank, of course, Andy, and I want to thank Molly for just making our services, everyone. So every service we do is just so special and such a joy. So again, thank you for that. So is there any particular song you would like to end the service with? Because if not, then I'll pick one. It's dangerous if I get to pick one. Okay. Oops. Take this off.
I picked enough, so
You got one?
no, I said I picked enough.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. I was going to pick Bashana Haba'ah, but I'm more in the mood for this. Adon Olam on page 625. This is another Adon Olam adapted to a pop song that was written by Paul McCartney. The tune is from his song English Tea. Adon Olam asher molach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chetzo kol azay melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני להמשיך לו להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשחק. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצרוכב לי בי צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא. לה 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 בידו אפקיד רוחי בי אין תישן בי העירה ואם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי ולא אירא אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא לה 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 La 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 la. A good Yontif, a Chag Sameach.